Good morning, students. Once again, welcome back to the course of concurrent and parallel programming. So in this lecture, let us see few of the important topics. General purpose computing on graphics processing unit, GPGPU. Rarely we call it as GPGP. Then let us discuss about POSIX threads. Then software transactional memory, STM. And this video is brought to you by Newton's Group of Institutions, Macherla. This is Arvind Egireddy from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. So let us see what is general purpose computing on graphics processing unit. So here the graphics processing unit GPU, which is typically handles computations only for computer graphics. And we also use this GPU to perform computations in applications that are being traditionally handled by the central processing unit, CPU. So here at the start of the multi-core, the CPU and GPUs, the processor chips, they have become parallel systems. But the speed of the program will be increased if the software is going to exploit the parallelism that is being provided by the underlying multi-processor architecture. Hence, there is a big need to design and develop the software so that it uses the multi-threading and each thread that is going to run concurrently on a processor. So potentially it increases the speed of the program, of course, dramatically. So to develop such a scalable parallel applications, a parallel programming model which is required and that supports a parallel multi-core programming environment. So here NVIDIA's graphics processing unit GPUs, they are very powerful and they are highly parallel. And the GPUs, they have hundreds of processor core and the thousands of threads that will be running concurrently on these cores. And because of intensive computing power, they are much faster than that of the CPUs. So now my question here is, are GPUs faster than CPUs? Of course, it is a very loaded question. But in short, I can answer no. Not always. Why? The fact for the general purpose computing, a CPU is going to perform much better than a GPU. That is because CPUs are designed with fewer processor cores and having higher clock speeds than the one that is being found in the GPUs. So this allows them to complete the series of tasks very quickly. Whereas coming to GPUs on the other hand, they have much greater number of cores and are being designed for a different purpose. So GPUs are being designed for different purpose. So GPUs, they were originally designed to accelerate the performance of the graphics render. So how it did? It did so by allowing the CPUs to offload the burdensome calculations. So whatever the calculations that are big and free up the processing power. So here GPUs will render the images more quickly than the CPUs because of its parallel processing architecture, and which allows to perform multiple calculations across the stream of data simultaneously. The CPU, of course, is the brain of the operation, which is responsible for giving the instruction to the rest of the systems, including GPUs. So today, with the help of these additional software, GPUs capabilities have been expanded to the scientific applications, because scientifically they reduce the time that is being taken to complete certain type of computations that are being required at different stages of data science. So it is important to highlight the GPUs. Of course, they don't replace the CPUs, but rather they act as a co-processor to accelerate the scientific and engineering computations. The reason here is GPUs, they have many parallel executional units and they have higher transistor counts. While the CPUs, they have fewer execution units, but higher clock speeds. And one more important thing is the GPUs, they have deeper pipelines. So here GPUs, they have significantly faster and more advanced memory interfaces. So as they need to shift around a lot more data than what the CPU can do. So here GPUs, they offer significant speed boost at a time where the CPU's performance nowadays, it is getting slower. Thus, it is expected that the adaptation of GPU computing that is going to increase in the upcoming years. Because this future is very important in the field of data science, which involves processing very larger data set efficiently. So in the SIMD design, single instruction multiple data, which means that the GPU computing can process multiple data with a single instruction, as in the case how we can do with a matrix multiplication. So here we can take as an example, deep learning can take an advantage of parallel computing to reduce the time spent in the training cycles. So that many of the difficult operations which are repeated. So here, in fact, many of the steps in the data science workflows can be processed through the GPU, data processing, future engineering, visualization. So they do require additional functions to implement this. Since traditional computer programming, which is not written for parallel processing, they need to be converted to GPU enabled. That is the reason GPU manufacturers, they are very keen on providing the software support for the developers so that they can accelerate the adaptation. So here GPU that enables an extraordinary high throughput, cutting the training time very significantly. So it will cut down the training time down significantly. It reduces a lot of time. So this translates directly to a low cost in terms of both time and energy. And the time saving could, which mean more iterations in the model development cycle for optimization. And we can see more of GPU on the cloud. So GPU cloud computing, which has been made available on major cloud platforms such as Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google Cloud on demand. So here it's not always as fast as a state-of-art GPU workstation. So it provides accessibility and convenience, and removing the need to invest the expensive hardware and maintenance. So all these are the advantages of GPU. So here in GPU, if we can see, we have to first understand the difference between the CPU and GPU. In CPU, we have 4 to 8 cores, whereas in GPU, we have hundreds or thousands of cores. And in CPU, we have low latency, whereas the high throughput will be in GPU. And CPU is good for serial processing, whereas GPU is good for parallel processing. So whenever we require sequential execution, we use go for traditional programming and by using the CPU. So here for using the GPU, we require additional software so that to convert the CPU functions to GPU functions for parallel execution. And we already discussed that the GPUs, they have parallel executional units, and they are going to have higher transistor counts. Whereas the CPU, they will be having fewer executional units with higher clock speeds. So this is these differences makes the use of GPU. So for parallelism, for going for parallel processing, we have to go for the GPU. So GPU, which is an additional hardware that is being attached to the CPU. And these GPU pipelines were developed at the beginning of the 21st century for graphics processing and for better shaders. So these pipelines were found to fit the scientific computation needs, and they have since been developed in this direction. So here a graphics processing unit, GPU, which is a specialized electronic circuit that is being designed to rapidly manipulate and alter the memory to accelerate the creation of the images in the frame buffer that is being intended for output to a display device. Here, GPUs are being used in the embedded systems, mobile phones, personal computers, workstations, game consoles. So modern GPUs, they are very efficient and manipulating computer graphics and image processing. So here the higher parallel structure that makes them more efficient than the general purpose central processing units. So here for algorithms that process large blocks of data in parallel, we go further. So in a personal computer, a GPU can be present on a video card or embedded on the, it can be on embedded on the motherboard. So nowadays, whatever the systems we get, they are directly embedded in the motherboard. Whereas in old versions of the computers, additionally, this hardware used to be added to the motherboard, graphics card. So in certain CPUs, they are embedded on the CPU die itself. So here the term GPU that was being coined by Sony in reference to the Play Store consoles. Toshiba designed Sony GPU in 1994. And the term was being popularized by NVIDIA in 1999, who marketed the GeForce 256 as the world first GPU. And it was being presented as a single chip processor with integrated transform, lighting triangle setup, clipping and rendering engines. Here, rival ATI Technologies coined the term Visual Processing Unit, VPU, with the release of Radeon 9700 in 2002. So here, what we can conclude from this? So here we can conclude that GPUs, they play a critical role in the field of the data science, because due to the nature of their parallel architecture, and they can quickly perform calculations on streams of data simultaneously. So solving one of the toughest challenge of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So it is now it is time to get familiar with the GPU computing through the cloud or on your local machine, whatever it may be. Okay, so now let us see the second topic, that is POSIX threads. So here, POSIX threads, portable operating system interface for Unix threads. POSIX, portable operating system interface for Unix threads. These are usually referred to as P threads. So here we usually refer these as P threads in standard C language programming interface for Unix systems. So here this language provides efficiently lightweight mechanisms for threads So we can manage them, and synchronization can be achieved by including the mutual exclusions and barriers. So in a context where the hardware vendors used to implement their own proprietary versions of threads, pthreads arose with the aim of exchanging the portability of thread applications that resides on the shared memory platforms. So here the reason that we go for alternative is because these pthreads, they result in very poor programmability. Why? Due to the low level threading model that is being provided by the standards. Because here the most of the implementation details are available to the programmer for suppose workload partitioning, worker management, communication, synchronization, task mapping. So here the overall task of developing this application with 3 pthreads is very, very hard. So here the POSIX threads, which is an application API, which is being defined by the standard POSIX 1C. Here the threads extension implementation of API, which are available on many Unix like POSIX conformant operating systems such as FreeBSD, NetBSD, OpenBSD, Linux, Mac operating systems, Android, Solaris, Redux, and AutoStar Adaptive. So here they have been typically bundled as a library, libpthread. So here Dr. DOS and even Microsoft Windows implementations also exist. So within the SFU and SUA subsystems, which provides a native implementation of a number of POSIX APIs, and also within the third-party packages such as pthreads W32, Windows 32. So which implements pthreads on top of the existing Windows API. So as we have seen that pthreads, they define a set of C programming language type functions and constants. So it is implemented with a pthread.h header and a thread library. So here we can categorize them because there are around 100 thread procedures, all prefixed with pthread underscore, and they can be categorized into 4 numbers. Thread management for creating, joining threads, etc. Mutex, condition variables, synchronization between the threads using read-write locks and barriers. Okay, so here the POSIX semaphores API, which works with the POSIX threads, but which is not part of threads standards, they have been defined in POSIX 1B. So real-time extensions, IEEE standards 1033 1B 1993 standard, they consequently use the semaphores procedures, and they are being prefixed by sem underscore instead of pthread underscore. So here an example program is being illustrated using the pthreads in C programming language. So here, if you can see in this particular program, the program is creating 5 threads. So here we are creating 5 threads, each executing the function perform underscore work that prints the unique number of this particular thread to a standard output. So if the programmer wants the thread to communicate with each other, then this would require defining a variable which is outside the scope of any of the function. So here we are making it as an global variable. So this program can be compiled by using the GCC compiler, and we have to use a certain commands for compiling this by using GCC compiler. So here for compiling this particular program, the command what we use is GCC pthreads underscore demo.c dash IP thread dash OP threads underscore demo. So this is the command what we have to use for compiling this program by using the GCC compiler. So we get many possible outputs for by running this particular program. So in main program, it will be creating threads. So the threads will be started, will be sleeping for fewer seconds, again restart. So the output, let us don't go into it. So now let us start with the next topic, that is software transactional memory, STM. So this is one of the alternative for locking. So STM systems we use due to because there are so many difficulties with the locks. So we have to go for an alternative approach. So we looked into the STM, software transactional memory. So here software transactional memory, STM, which is an approach which has been garnered a significant interest in as an elegant alternative for developing the parallel programs. So here software transactions, they are the units of execution in the memory which enable concurrent threads to execute seamlessly. And software transactions, they address many of the shortcomings of log-based systems. Here, this idea is originated from the transactions in the database. So here, unlike the local-based programming, the STM approach, which is optimistic. So here, a thread that completes modifications to the shared memory without regarding for what other threads might be doing. So it is going to record every read and write that is being performed in its log. So here the STM systems, they lock into the log and they validate if the actions of the thread can be allowed to become permanent. So if they are permanent, then we call them as committed. If they are not permanent, we then abandon them. So here the benefits of this approach is to increase the concurrency, because no thread, it needs to wait for access to a resource. And here the different threads, they can safely and simultaneously, they can modify the disjoint parts of the data structures so that would normally be protected under the same lock. And here an advantage of STM is that it provides a very possible approach for composing the software components. So here what we can conclude from this is, whether it is a GPU, general purpose computing and graphical processing unit, or if it is an POSIX thread or software transactional memory, STM, all these things we will be using in the parallel computations, for parallel computations. So here STMs, they are going to achieve composition through nesting of transactions. Here when we say a transaction which is called nesting, if it invokes another transaction as part of its execution. So here the programming supports for STM in order to execute code that is going to be accessed or on the shared data items as transactions. So here the user is going to designate the pieces of code in an atomic block. So for instance, here the following code, what you can see on the monitor, will be executing a transaction by an STM system. So it is an atomic operation that is being performed. So here the STM systems, they are responsible, their main responsibility here is to execute these transactions as if they were atomic. So as if the entire body of the transactions were being executed as a single movement on a time. So as discussed above, here the transaction execution executes to complete them in an committed, and its effects that are being visible to other transactions. So otherwise it is being aborted and none of its effects are visible to other transactions. So here it can be seen that not much changes is being required for executing this particular code. And here the sections of the code which access the shared objects, they have to be designated as a transactions. So we have to consider these sections of code that which are being accessed, shared, which are being shared objects. So we consider them as transactions. So here the STM system will ensure that they execute, they can be executed automatically. So here we can conclude that software transaction memory STM, which is an approach which has a garner significant interest as an elegant alternative for developing the parallel programs. And software transactions here are units of execution in memory which enable concurrent threads to execute seamlessly. And software transactions can be employed to address many of the shortcomings of log-based systems. So I hope you understood the concepts related to GPGPU, pthreads, that is POSIX threads, and STM. Okay, thank you. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more videos.